is the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans by the fans, with Josh Taylor, Justin Smead, and Jason Eidsmoe. We're talking Padres, Chargers, and Aztec sports.
Got to hit it to the right place. And he hits it out to center. Right center. Blackman's got a long way to go. He's still going.
Off the wall.
And it is off the wall. It takes a funny hop. Kemp is rounding second. He's heading to third. And Matt Kemp into third base with a triple and the first cycle in the history of the San Diego Padres.
He will hand it off. Tomlinson plows his way towards the goal line. LaDainian Tomlinson, one step closer to football immortality. Tomlinson has tied the single season record. And the handoff to Tomlinson. Left side, and he will gallop into the end zone. Charger fans are witnesses to history.
Pope thought about it. Now steps up. And the freshman hits the jumper at the buzzer.
Well, this kid is some prospect. Big time length, big time game.
Pope straight away three. Counted. Malik Pope. Pope off glass and good. On the other end, Joel doesn't miss that one. Shepard alley-oop to Pope. He got up there. Oh, wow.
It's time to let your voice be heard.
Well, I think it's a trait we've had around here that maybe there was before, and I'm not saying it's because of me, but that we're going to fight and scratch and claw. I don't care who's out there, who suits up, what our record is, and that's what we've done, and that's what you saw today as a team that was fighting and scrappy, and we talked all week. We're 1-4, so what? What are we going to do? We get to play in the National Football League on Thursday Night Football against a division rival. Let's just go out here and play, cut it loose, and I felt it in the locker room. I was teary-eyed in the locker room. I said that going on. The guys were jumping around, and I was like, look at us, a bunch of grown men playing a kid's game. Let's go.
And it was emotional. This had to be the longest short week of your career, also because your coach might.
All right. That was Philip Rivers after the big win, Thursday Night Football. It's nice to see him excited about actually winning a game. It's been a long time since we've won a divisional game. This is the San Diego Sports Junkies. I'm Jason Eidsmoe here in studio. I got Justin Smead via Skype. Justin, how's it going?
Good, brother. How are you?
Real good. Jake, are you there?
Gentlemen, happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday, Jake. Could you hear that video?
I loved it.
Yes.
That was actually a suggestion from Jake, and we've got David Drogmeyer. I'm trying to bring back on. We had him on, and then we lost him, so I'm currently trying to add him, but you guys know how all that works.
It must have been his attire that kicked him off.
Yeah, he was wearing
the most professional.
Yeah. That's the beauty about Skype. You can see the other person. He was rocking a nice Charger jacket with nothing underneath it, so that was pretty nice. Pretty classy.
It was pretty cool. That's David Drogmeyer from the San Diego Sports Domination Podcast, and he should be joining us whenever we figure out how to get this thing going. David, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
We got him back.
Sir.
All right,
and appropriately dressed too.
We were talking about your attire while we were trying to bring you back on. Thanks for joining us, guys. It seems like it's been forever because we didn't have a pregame show on Sunday because the Chargers did play that Wednesday night game. Thursday night game. Excuse me. I titled this episode, "Have We Turned This Thing Around?" And I know that us in San Diego, when we finally do win a game, we get so excited. But I'm going to be honest with you, before the game, I thought we were turning things around. And I positive Patty here, I thought that we were going to turn this season around. It started with the Broncos. I'll start with you, Jake. Do you think that is the sign of turning it around, or do you think that it's a little bit too early for that?
It's definitely a sign, but I think it's way too early for us to even think that we've turned any sort of corner here. I mean, we've got the next 2 weeks are extremely difficult for us on the road, by the way, in Atlanta and in Denver. So if the Chargers want to have any type of repeat success in the form of a winning streak, you got to go up against now this week against one of the most potent offenses in the NFL, and your defense, as well as it played last Thursday, has to put up an equally great performance. And that comes in the form of getting pressure to Matt Ryan and, doing a lot of other similar things in the form of what Jatavius Brown did on Thursday night. And, there's a lot of things that have to happen. So I think while it's good that the Chargers were able to really go up against adversity when they had lost 3 straight and, get themselves a win in a division that they haven't had for, just about 2 years, it was a very positive sign. But there is a lot of work to do. And from the coaches down, there is a lot of people that are going to be accountable over these next several weeks. So this is a wait and see game right now, but it's nice to come in here and start the show off by talking about a victory.
Yeah, it is nice to talk about victory. And one of the things that was brought up in the chat room is it seemed like after the second quarter, the offense couldn't get it together. David, what were your thoughts on that victory? Did you like what you saw from the offense, or did it seem like they started to sputter a little bit after the first quarter or after the second quarter?
Well, I mean, I don't think you could have scripted a better first or second drive to that football game. I mean, they took the ball all the way down the field and they scored with authority. And that's what you like to see, capped it off with a nice Hunter Henry touchdown. Yeah, of course they got a little soft in the second half. I was talking about them doing a ball control offense. I do feel like that they did accomplish that. Overall, I was just happy that they were able to just finish a game off. So kudos to the young guys. They really, really shined in this game.
Justin, what were your thoughts on that game? Do you think that it was good enough to turn the season around? And did the offense's great start, but you, for whatever reason, going conservative or whatever you want to think, does that worry you a little bit? How they kind of sputtered a little bit?
Not necessarily. I mean, kind of agree with Jake. I mean, while I'm not concerned, I'm a proponent of being positive too, like yourself. I think this is a great win for first of all the team to get their momentum back on straight. This is one of those wins that can propel you. While there is work to do, I really believe this is the turning point of the season, and I really believe that, because eventually you would have to think that this losing would have to end with all the points that they're scoring, these dropping of games and just collapsing in the fourth quarter. You would eventually have to believe, as Charger fans, this is going to end. Like, the bleeding has to stop at some point. To get that monumental win on Thursday night in front of a national audience, the way they did it and the fashion they did it, this is the kind of win that you take on the road to Atlanta, a good team that can put up a lot of points, and you push them around a little bit, and you're the bully. You try to impose your will. So I think this will propel them into the division race and get them back in this thing.
I love it, and like I said, you know how positive I am. I like to think that this victory is what it's going to take to this 21-13 victory is what it's going to take to turn it around. Now we do have, you're right, we have the Falcons, then we got to play the Broncos in Denver, and the Titans and the Dolphins, and we got four games ahead that we got to probably win 3 of those 4 at least, if not 4 of those 4. One of the things we're going to talk about, a lot of things that went right. Chris Hunter in the chat room has brought up quite a few things. First guy that he brings up is Jatavius Brown. Now I know that Jake brought him up. There's not, we've talked a lot about Manti Te'o. There probably isn't a bigger fan of Manti Te'o than me. There's no way that if Jatavius Brown continues doing what he's doing, that Manti Te'o is going to even come back to this team. And if he does, there's no way that he's going to regain this starting position. Jake, is Jatavius Brown the real deal, or is it, or do you think that that teams are going to be able to start taking advantage of him because he's a rookie?
I think that we as Chargers fans are very fortunate. If you look at the last 2 years, specifically at the middle linebacker position, to what we have gotten to witness with Denzel Perryman last year, and now what Jatavius Brown is doing, stepping in a spot where we thought, because Manti Te'o was a definitive captain on this defense, that there was going to be a huge void left. And you come out and you put out a 14 tackle, 1 forced fumble, 1 sack performance against the Super Bowl champions. You're making a statement, and he's done that over the last couple of weeks, and it's definitely showed in his play and his attitude, and it has trickled to other people. So to have a combination of Jatavius Brown and Denzel Perryman back there as middle linebackers. That is a duo that is young, that can definitely grow into possibly the best in the league if these two keep developing the way that they're developing right now. So it's hard to not be enthusiastic about something as well as Jatavius Brown is playing right now.
Yeah, two young hammers really in the middle there, and it's Perryman from last year and Jatavius Brown, and as much as we want to get mad at Telesco for some of the mistakes he's made, you can't argue with some of these draft choices he's made. We're getting a lot of production from this year's draft from Bosa, who's only played a couple games. He's got stats from a guy who's played all year long. Hunter Henry, of course. I'm not going to tell you what Jake promised us in the before the season started, but
sources.
But you know what? Jake might be right for crying out loud. And David, moving forward here with are you pretty happy and excited from what you're seeing from this linebacking crew?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't think you could sit here and not be impressed by what you've seen the last couple of games. And also, you would be remiss if you didn't mention Corey Toomer, the linebacker that they picked up from the Raiders practice squad. I mean, he's been a revelation, man. I mean, some much-needed depth, a guy that can go out there and cover running backs and tight ends. I mean, another guy that you can add with Jatavius Brown that has that skill set. You got to be really encouraged by what you've seen, and we're going to need those young linebackers to be in rare form on Sunday.
I'm happy you brought up Corey Toomer, and Justin, I wanted to ask you. We picked him up off the scrap heap, and he's
flashed.
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
I mean, how exciting is that to see a guy who, when we played against the Raiders, he was out there a little bit. He was kind of getting his feet wet. They put him all in on this game, and you're looking at a guy who is just really, really contributing out there, forced a fumble. What are your thoughts on him, Justin?
Well, you can't be more pleased. I mean, you look at Te'o going down, you look at Dzubnar. Some of our depth man's been depleted, and being fortunate to have a Jatavius Brown who's stepped in a role as now the Mike linebacker that calls the signals and leads the defense as a rookie out of Akron. I just can't even imagine this. It's crazy to me. I heard a conference call, and not to get off of what I like about Toomer, but Dan Quinn, the quarterback or the head coach of the Falcons, had said that they had Jatavius Brown on their board. They really wanted him, just didn't get him at where they wanted. And they said the big thing for him that stood out was sideline to sideline speed. The guy could close on anybody. They were worried about his coverage skills in a sense, but he seemed to be very good doing that this year, and it's been one of actually his better attributes. So I like these three as a trio. How they've been working together. Then you add in the line, how hard they're working. It's really coming together as a formidable front 6, 7. These guys, and don't forget about Ingram off the edge. These guys are really, now you've got guys, like you've got real guys in this defense in the middle of your core defense. So very excited about what Toomer's brought and just the overall depth of what's going on.
Requested just joined us in the chat room, and he's I'm going to read it, but this is going to show how old I am. He says, you guys sound on fleek tonight, and I'm not even sure what that means. I think it's good.
It means you have fleas.
I think it means my eyebrows are nice.
Nice.
And then
he's pleased. He's pleased with the content.
It's nice. It's nice that that we have a victory to talk about.
Yes.
Somebody else that I'm happy he hasn't come up yet because we need to throw this guy to Jake, and that's Tenny Palapoy. Palapoy with 3 quarterback hits, and he caused he caused 2 holds to be called while he was playing, yes. and Jake has been beating the Tenny Palapoy drum ever since he came to San Diego. Yeah. And was this his coming out party? Man, what a great game from him, Jake.
I don't know necessarily if it was his coming out party, but that was by far, you go back and you look at the games that he's played, since the 3 years that he's been with this team. And that was definitely his best performance. And honestly, I think that this is you can't really blame it on one guy because it's not. But the additions of Brandon Mebane and Joey Bosa, I believe, have made the rest of that front 7 look a lot better, specifically Tenny Palapoy. And he played with an attitude during that Thursday night game. He was in the backfield. I could see him throwing his fist. I mean, he just looked like he was playing with some anger back there, and it definitely showed. And then I think that, underrated as he may be, and, he's not always the guy whose name is called. He's not always the guy who's seen out there making big plays on the field. But I think he was definitely a piece of the front seven that the Chargers missed last year in the front seven. And I think that his arrival back now, combined with the way that Damian Square's playing, again, with the way Legit's been playing as of late, with Mebane, now you've got a nice rotation of guys at that front seven spot that are still, majority of them are still young that you can utilize, specifically power play. So I was very pleased to see the type of play that he brought forth on Thursday night.
Let's remember all those Mike McCoy haters out there too. When he chose the guys to be inactive, he deactivated Darius Philon, who is a lot of us like him a lot, and he made sure Tenny Palapoy was active because Damian Square was coming back, and those are the type of moves that people don't realize. That's a game changer right there. As much as we like Philon, I don't see him having the same game that Tenny Palapoy had. David, I know that you were pretty excited to hear about him too. What are your thoughts on Palapoy? Uh-oh. No volume.
I said I loved it. Sorry about that, guys.
Right.
Yeah, I loved what I saw. Just honestly, I loved what I saw out of the defensive line group just in general. I think Pagano did a great job of mixing and matching those guys and keeping everybody fresh. I feel like everybody did their job really, really well in that game, and man, what a difference.
Yeah, the defense absolutely dominated that game, especially at the beginning. And like what's happened a lot this year, a few screwy things happened. A lot of things happened that kept the defense on the field a lot towards the end, which kind of made them maybe give up a few statistics that weren't really fair to how they actually played. But I'll tell you what, Pagano was a little bit on the hot seat too. And, remember, he's lost his, of course, Eric Weddle, like him or not, he was the starting safety. He's lost the other safety. He's lost his number 1 and number 2 cornerback. A lot of people think Casey Hayward should be the number 2, but he wasn't. He was the number 3. He's lost all of those guys, and yet he really dialed up the perfect defense. Pagano, do you think that he turned things around for him too, Justin, or are you still a little bit wary about him at D coordinator?
No, not at all. I've never been worried about Pagano. If he's gonna, he's done this before. We've dealt with injuries in the past. He's so good. His defense is pretty complex. I mean, it's not just you learn it in a day or two. It's really got some masking, zone, blitz coverage. It's got a lot of different things to it, elements. For these guys to have picked it up, the younger guys, I think it's a credit to him and the way he gets his guys motivated and ready each week. Even though the results haven't been there, we're 2-4. I get that. He is down a few men, but I have a lot of faith in Pagano. And until we start getting burned for 30, 40 points a game and we're losing every game, I can't really knock him. At least we're in these games and we're competing at a high level. It's giving our offense a chance to win football games. I don't know how many 3-and-outs we forced against Denver. It was nice to see at certain crucial times the defense stepping up, making plays in the backfield, getting even just pressures. You don't have to hit the quarterback. Just get after him, make him move, make Simeon move those feet. As you can see, he's not very accurate on the run. I've seen, he looked pretty awful in certain situations. So credit to the defensive coordinator and the whole defensive staff. It was nice to see, just because what they have to work with, guys. You just mentioned it. So a lot of depleted guys. Really nice to see.
Moving over to the special teams, Jake. I know we can talk about Drew Kaiser, turning his season around. We can talk about how Josh Lambo actually leads the league in touchbacks. He's only had 9 kicks returned. But I do want to touch on something maybe not as positive. When we got the safety, it looked like the game was over. They came out and they made a great call. They kicked that ball short. Kenny Wiggins had to try and catch the fair catch. Didn't work out. Are you a little bit it was a great play it was a great call and a great play by Denver to even design that. But are you a little bit bummed out that maybe the Chargers didn't have somebody up a little bit closer that could handle the ball in case of something like that happened? Or is that just kind of the way things happen, Jake?
Absolutely. And this is still the scrutiny that I have of, some of the coaching decisions on this team, by by no means at all is Mike McCoy off the hook with me, and I think with all of our opinions that he is coaching for his job for the remainder of this season, as far as an ultimate change that may be had. But you see the first mistake from Travis Benjamin. I mean, he had gotten pulled just a couple weeks prior when we had first brought in. Why am I forgetting his name all of a sudden?
McCluster.
Thank you, Line. Yeah, McCluster. He had already gotten pulled previously, and we've seen this. This is not the first time that this has happened. He just does not have the wherewithal how to properly field kicks, and so you have one instance there. Of course, how do you have an offensive lineman in position when you should know from what the score is, from where it is in the game? Why are you not having your hands team out there, and you have an offensive lineman that's out there trying to field an onside kick? It was just outright ridiculous. And then above all else, to take everything, to think that it couldn't get any worse, you ice an onside kick, which gives them the opportunity to at another chance, and they ultimately recover. I've never heard of like that.
I don't think they were icing it. I think it's more along the lines of trying to see how they're going to line up, and I don't hold them responsible for that. That's where I think people get a little bit too picky and try and blame everything on the coach. That onside kick was beauty. He can kick it 50 more times. He's not going to get another kick like that. It was just a perfect kick. That's just the way that happened. But I will scrutinize the special teams for not at least having somebody up that could field a short kick, for crying out loud. Everybody's pissed off at Wiggins. What else was the guy supposed to do? He was the only guy there. You certainly can't let the ball hit the ground. It's a live ball.
That's what I was telling people.
Go ahead,
He's
Justin.
Catch it. No, I'm not even trying to interrupt. I told people the same thing. What is Kenny Wiggins supposed to do? The ball's coming right at him. He's supposed to try to make a play. He's not a kick returner.
Right.
Was he supposed to dance away from the ball? Jake's right. You have to have a plan in place. And don't get me started on Travis Benjamin waving people off and then getting next to the football.
I know.
This whole thing's been a sham. So they got to improve. They have to improve, and they want to f up games again. That's what they're gonna keep doing. They're gonna f up the game.
Yeah, the Broncos made mistakes too. They fumbled the ball quite a bit and stuff, but the only reason it was even as close as it was because of the mistakes. David, do you when you see the design like that on the free kick, and then you see the Travis Benjamin muffing another kick, are you blaming that on the head coach? Are you blaming that on the special teams coach? Or are you just saying shit happens? What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, well, as far as the Kenny Wiggins thing is concerned, one, he never handles the football. So for him to be in that position is the coach's fault.
I agree.
He doesn't go out there and line up where he wants to. He lines up where he's told to line up. So he is a player that should not have been in that situation, so that falls on the coaches, period. The Travis Benjamin thing, that's all his fault. First of all, why aren't you running up and catching the football? Why? Why not? You have probably top 5 speed in the NFL. Like one of the fastest guys to play in the National Football League right now. Run up and catch the football. Wave your hands for a fair catch and secure it. And he's not doing that. Also, I don't like the way he returns anyway because he's really tentative, and he will avoid contact at all costs. He would much rather run out of bounds than, initiate contact. That's a couple of things I love about McCluster. He's going to go up, he's going to catch the ball, he's aggressive on his returns, and he will finish it off. So I think they made the right decision in taking that duty away, and hopefully they can clean up those mistakes moving forward because we cannot have those moving forward.
I agree, and you used the word tentative, and I like that to bounce us into the next guy I want to talk about, and that's Melvin Gordon. Started the season very, very strong, and he still had a solid game. He had 90-something yards. He had that one big run, but his tendency to be tentative seems like it's coming back, and I don't know if that's because we're not blocking as well, but I actually think that it's happened ever since Woodhead went out, and that's because he's in the game much more often. He's in the game on third downs. When Woodhead was on the team, he had less to worry about. He just worried about running the ball. Now you see him on third downs. Now you see him pass protecting. Now you see him doing a lot of the things that Woodhead was in there to do. Do you think that that's taken away from his running ability, Jake, or do you think that it's just maybe just the way it happens? I have a feeling that Woodhead going out has really affected his game. What are your thoughts?
I don't necessarily I can't say that I agree with that. I mean, let's not forget that we still played the Super Bowl championship team on Thursday night, who had the number 1 defense in the league last year, whose defense...
Oh, by the way, yeah.
Their defense hasn't lost that many people, and is still pretty damn good against the run. So you still have to attribute that. And, with the with some of the things that have, little dinks in here that have plagued the Chargers offensive line through the last couple of weeks, thank God nothing serious. But again, we're not still playing at 100%. We don't have the best running game in the world, despite how Melvin Gordon has been looking, through the first 6 weeks of the season. So I don't think it's necessarily, him being more tentative. Maybe you could say that because of the way that the Chargers offense really slowed down in the second half, and it would just be, it just became predictable. That's really just what it became. The defense knew exactly what it was that the Chargers were coming. It was run, pass. And I don't think that really has anything to do with his tentativeness. That's Wade Phillips obviously adjusting to something and being prepared and not allowing, he actually dared Phillip Rivers to beat the Denver Broncos in that second half is what he did. And, unfortunately the plays weren't called to where Phillip had those opportunities, but that is exactly what Wade was doing. So they set up to stop the run because Malik Jackson, who is no longer with that team, I believe, he's now in Jacksonville. That was a big piece of their middle front seven where they got a lot of pressure on last year, and they do not have that piece anymore. And he was also really, really good against the run. So they made sure that they shored that up, especially in the second half. So I don't necessarily think that I would agree with Gordon taking a step back and being tentative. It's more just an effect of playing a really, really good defense.
What are your thoughts on that, Justin? Do you think that Gordon is taking a step back, or do you think it's just the way the defense is, the type of defense that we played?
No, I couldn't agree more with Jake. I mean,
of course.
I just
teasing.
I have to. No,
3-on-1.
Hey, well, we're gonna gang tackle you here. I just think that he's got a point. He's got a good point.
Yeah.
I think that you're facing a front that is fantastic. Like you said, you're missing some guys over there, free agent, whatever. They're still a good defense. And the way Orlando Franklin mannequin to man. To spring that 45-yarder was very, very impressive. That didn't hurt either. It seemed like I just think you're seeing less of Derek Watt too. I don't know if we want to all bring this up and talk about that. I don't know if there's a trust issue there. I do see him on certain plays and certain packages, but it seems like the beginning of the year we saw him a lot more. Maybe that's just because they're losing a little faith in what he can do as a blocker. But I still stand by my opinion. They need him in the game more because he can be utilized as a pass catcher in certain options. But I'd like to see more of that. And I'd like to see, and I do agree with you a little bit, Jason. He did run a little tentatively on Thursday night, but that could be just a product of the defense.
You're right. David, whose side are you on here?
Well, I mean, actually, I like what Melvin Gordon did in the game. I mean, overall, you look at the full picture. It's 95 yards and a good size 48-yard run. I mean,
against a good defense,
and against one of the best defenses in the NFL. Period. Right. I mean, you got to be encouraged by that. And I hate it when people say, and this is something I brought up on my own podcast, is if you take the 48-yarder away, no, stop right there.
He got the 48-yarder. You can't take it away.
Exactly, it happened.
Right, and he got a big crucial part of the game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and by the way, folks, the Chargers are 2-0. When Melvin Gordon rushes for over 90 yards in a game. So, and you can take that, that's a fact. You can take that to the bank.
That's a fact, Jack.
Yeah, you can take that to the bank. And also play calling. I really don't like all the inside rushes. I would really love to see some pitches and some counters. I would really love to see them get this athlete in space because you saw it on the 48-yarder. This guy has, pardon the pun, electric speed.
Yeah.
He has electric speed when he gets out in the open field. So get him out in the open field more and let him work his magic.
Yeah, and I didn't mind them getting so conservative. I think the fact that we had a victory, we had the game, the lead in the game, and they're just like, hey, we need to not fuck this up. We need to not fuck this up. And we still almost did. They were being so conservative.
There was
and we
plenty of time to F that.
Still made some stupid mistakes and almost gave that game away. I will tell you, I promise you, I swear to you, I never thought we were going to lose. No matter, every time something bad happened, I said, it's not going to happen today. I just did not think that there was any way we could have lost this game. And, you could say that that's me being ridiculous and me being stupid, but I just, for some reason, being a cockeyed optimist, whatever you want to call it, I did not. I stole that from Seinfeld. Anybody watches Seinfeld?
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's
I'm not smart enough to think of a word like that.
I liked the energy, though. To be fair, man, when the Chargers came out, I really did sense a different kind of energy in the team on Thursday night. I feel like they were excited to play on the national stage, and they performed well. One thing, just to go back to Melvin Gordon real quick, please remember, folks, he also has 7 touchdowns.
Yes.
So that's 7 more than he had last year.
Yes.
So, there's another thing you can't take away from him. So, all things considered, I think he's done much better this year.
Yes, and moving on to Phillip Rivers, he passed Dan Fouts for the all-time passing leader. I don't even know why it's an argument. Jake, why are people even arguing whether or not this guy's going to be in the Hall of Fame?
Because they're the talking heads, and they need something to talk about, apparently. I guess that's what it is. I mean, you got to be kidding me that you wouldn't consider this guy first ballot. Even if there is no jewelry on his ring finger, there is no question in my mind that Phillip Rivers is a first ballot Hall of Famer. You know what's funny? I found the game of when LT broke the touchdown record back in 2006. And I specifically watched it because I just wanted to watch how Phillip Rivers was playing. And man, oh man, it was Vincent Jackson's first game as a starter. He came in for Keenan McCardell in that game. Still playing with wide receivers like Eric Parker and, tight ends named Humana Maliuna. And it was just amazing because when Phillip Rivers threw 2 touchdowns to Gates, and that game, by the way, that really goes under the radar for what LT did. Gates had over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, so he lit that game up. But you see Phillip Rivers' energy that he had back in 2006, and I'm like, nothing has changed with this guy at all. He still has the same energy, still celebrates in the same type of fashion, and he's still that type of leader that he was from 2006. And because of that, he has generated the stats that he has been able to generate. He has, brought in this team out of the LT area and T era and basically made it his own. And he is the leader, and the ship steers as far as he takes it. And he's been a pro's pro for the way that he's handled it, and it, like he said in the audio clip to open this segment here with us, that it's a bunch of grown guys playing a kid's game, and that's what it is, and it's about having fun. And how the hell could you not appreciate a guy who has that type of sentiment and put him in the Hall of Fame with everything that he's done?
Yeah, David, should a lack of a ring on his finger keep him out of the Hall of Fame?
Absolutely not. Are you kidding me? This guy is one of the toughest one of the toughest players ever in NFL history. When you got a guy who played with a torn ACL in an AFC Championship game, you have I'll go to battle for you any day of the week, man. That's the kind of guy I want to play for and I want to play with. That's the kind of leader that I want. He's played, 200 plus consecutive games in a row. He is an Iron Man in the league. He, when he hangs it up in a few years, he's going to have over 50,000 yards passing. So I think there is absolutely no question this guy is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Justin, you agree with all that, right?
Oh no way! That's terrible. No, of course I do. You just look at his stats and look at the guys he came in with that are quote unquote, elite quarterbacks, just like Phillip, and they have rings and they both have 2 apiece. We all know that. We don't need to hear that banging in our ear all the time. But he's already caught those guys, and he had 2 years off prior. They have 2 years on him, so he's already pretty much caught both of those guys. And in every stat, every category, it's ridiculous what he's done in his time as a starter. He had to sit back 2 years. And that's no excuse, really. I mean, that's just the way it happened. That's the way it played out here in San Diego. No, there's no argument there. It's a mic drop, and he should be on the podium with a yellow jacket.
I agree completely. Have we seen the last 100-yard game from Antonio Gates? Are we going to get any more of those from him? Or Justin, I mean, I know he had the hamstring injury, and I know that Hunter Henry has just played. He's really, really come into it. But are we going to see any more 100-yard games from Antonio Gates, Justin?
Yeah, it'll be the last home game. We'll already secured our spot in the playoffs. Hunter Henry will be benched because Antonio Gates gets all the reps. He's going to get 137 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns. It's going to be an epic day for him at the Q.
David, we going to see another 100-yard game out of Gates?
Actually, I do believe we will see another 100-yard game out of Gates, and it'll be. It's going to happen. I really believe that. I mean, yeah, he's slowed down a few steps. I think we can all see that. But also, we have to take in consideration that he has been dealing with the hamstring injury the last couple of weeks. So we don't know where he is health-wise. He did practice today, so that was encouraging. I mean, you got to remember, this guy is still his name alone still gets recognition on defenses. He still gets double-teamed. You know, he's still a focal point for defenses. Honestly, I think as we get further down along the season, the roles are are going to reverse with Henry and Gates. I think they're going to start doubling Henry, and they're going to let Gates go, and I think that's when Gates is going to cash in.
Yeah, I think they're playing pick your poison right now, and Henry is making them pay. Jake, are we going to see any more 100-yard games out of Antonio Gates?
I think he has a couple left, and David made a great point. A guy his age, dealing with a hamstring injury. Hamstring injuries in the NFL, man, are no joke, and they can linger from anywhere from a week to 6 or 7 weeks. It just depends on the severity. And for a guy like him who's been in the game for as long as he has, that rehab is not probably going to heal as it would for any spring chicken that's in the league or any rookie that's out there. Look how long it took Joey Bosa to come out and play working off a hamstring injury. So let's just, take that into account. But I think Gates has a few left. And the number that actually stands out to me is not 100, it's 6. He's still 6 touchdowns shy of getting to that record. And I know how badly Phillip Rivers wants him to achieve that this year. So I think that's definitely going to be something that's going to be a focal point of him, this offense. I know he definitely wants it. I know he wants to be out there producing the way that he normally would out there. So, I definitely think he's got a couple left in the tank.
I just wanted to add, too, it hasn't been fun watching Hunter and him play when they are on the field together.
Yeah.
I love the big formations, the big packages, if you will. I love that. There's so much deception there. Who do you cover? 85 is going to screen you out in the middle of the field. He's going to block you out, make a catch for 4 or 5 yards. That's vintage Antonio Gates. Then you got a kid in Hunter Henry that can blow past a linebacker in coverage and get open, run crisp route. It's been really fun to watch this year. These two guys and the dynamic they've brought in. What a find we got. It's not really a find. What a draft pick we got in Hunter Henry. It's been nice.
Yeah, both Jake and David have talked a lot this season about 2 tight end sets, and the more healthy Antonio Gates gets, and every time it seems like every week another wide receiver drops off. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more 2 tight end sets. David, you foresee more of that this year?
No question about it, and I think you can look to Sunday for a very healthy dose of it because the Falcons defense, I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit later, but just to touch on it briefly, the Falcons defense is strong on the outside, but weak in the middle. So, this is another opportunity for the tight ends to shine and tear things up. And like Justin was saying, the deception is something that you can't, you can't discount. You really can't because, they can run out of that set because of how effective Hunter Henry is as a blocker. And you can do play action out of that. There's just so many things that you can do out of that set that I think they can definitely utilize on Sunday.
Another player that on the team that I absolutely love, but I'm not getting the production that I thought that I would get out of him when he moved to guard, and that's DJ Fluker. I almost want to use the word I don't want to use the word bust because I don't think that that's a fair statement, but I'm going to use the word disappointment. I thought he was going to be more dominating, especially when moving to guard. I only watch as a fan. I'm not breaking down film. Jake, has DJ Fluker been a little bit disappointing, or am I just not seeing everything he's doing?
I don't think we're really taking into account everything he's doing. You know, again, there has been a little bit of reshuffling along the line where he had to move back to right tackle. Yeah, so I mean, again, he's had to be shuffled, and it's not necessarily by his account; it's by other people's injuries, and of course, he has to go with the way that the offensive line has to work. That's what they built it for. But ultimately, you know, you look at quarterback pressures; a lot of them. I've seen personally the ones that have came from Phillip or came onto Phillip have been from the left side, from Dunlap's side. A lot of them have actually come up the middle as well. So something's happening in between that guard position on the left side that I've seen a lot of pressures from Phillip Rivers getting. So I don't necessarily, I'm not discounting Fluker that he hasn't had a hand in any of some of the struggles of the offensive line, but I don't think it's as bad as we're all possibly making it out to seem.
David, is Fluker outplaying Orlando Franklin? Is that what you see then, or do you think what I was originally saying may be true?
Well, let me pose to you this question: when was the last time you heard the number 76?
Yeah, you don't hear him getting penalties or anything. Yeah,
no,
you're
that's
right.
exactly what I was going to use. You stole my thunder there. I mean, you haven't heard the guy. I mean, that's a
you're
good
right.
thing.
Sorry, man. I mean, with offensive linemen, they don't care about star power. If their name is not called, that means that they did their job.
Okay.
So, you know, with the information that, you know, has been given to me, as far as nobody's, you know, no referees, no zebras yelling out, you know, holding 76 or false start 76, it leads me to believe that he's doing his job adequately.
Yeah, you know, maybe you know, I didn't even took that into consideration, Justin. Your thoughts on DJ Fluker and the lack of being mentioned? Yeah, you're right.
No, piggyback off David is a perfect point. I was thinking to myself, I haven't heard his name, and I think that's a very good thing because hell, for all we know, if we're not breaking down film, he's still body slamming bitches. So, you know, who knows? And that's vintage DJ Fluker. I think he just he goes out there and does a solid job in what he's asked to do. Like we're alluding to, you don't hear much of his name. That probably means he's doing an okay job. So if we're springing, you know, Gordon for 45 here and there on the left, or I mean on the right hand side, obviously he's doing something more than we could ask for. That's good. But the shuffling, it's, you know, he's been shuffled around anyway. So he's used to that. This whole offensive line has been used to things like that. But I don't think it's an issue. I just because you don't hear his name too often, is not a concerning.
You know, and I do think that not just him, but overall the offensive line has played pretty well when it comes to penalties. We have not gotten, you know, look at Denver.
Knock on wood, please.
Denver screwed them. You know, we talk about all the mistakes that the Chargers made. Denver made a shit ton of mistakes and a bunch of holding calls. They lost a touchdown from a hold, and those are legit holds too. And speaking of legit calls and stuff, one thing that I noticed, and maybe I'm being sensitive because I'm a Charger fan watching the game. We'll throw this one to Jake. Did you notice that it seemed like every single time a Chargers wide receiver caught the ball or a tight end caught the ball, Denver jumped up and started screaming for offensive pass interference? And
I'm so glad you brought that up.
And every single time one of their wide receivers didn't catch the ball, they were screaming for pass interference.
Like
did you notice?
pansies.
Yeah, did you notice that, Jake?
I was actually I had forgotten to put that in when we were talking about, you know, Hunter Henry and Antonio Gates, because literally it was so hilarious to see TJ Ward call for offensive PI, not only just on Antonio Gates, but on Hunter Henry. And literally it was the same move. And it just shows you the effect that Antonio Gates has already had on Hunter Henry, because Hunter's already learning to box out like a basketball player, the way that Gates used to do in Kansas State. But it was just, you know, I mean, that was even an inadequate box out for what a 37-year-old Antonio Gates does now, as opposed to what a 26-year-old Antonio Gates used to do, you know, so many years ago. So, I mean, you know, hey, man, you're getting beat out there. Just take it.
Own it.
Yeah.
Own it.
Exactly.
It's a pride thing for Denver, and I don't mean to cut you off, Jake, but I think the whining came from because we were beating them off the ball.
Yeah.
And they had no answer. I mean, no answer for Hunter Henry. He went down the seam several times on drag route. He did an inside corner route. There were some great throws by Phillip. Those two are really gaining rapport, and I could see visibly, you know, whether it was Talib or Chris Harris Jr. just whining and bitching and moaning. Shut the F up. You guys are the Super Bowl champs. You're not coming in on the road. You shouldn't be whining. You should be imposing your will on the offense, and they did none of that on Thursday.
I'm glad you guys agree with me. David, you think they played like a bunch of whiners over there in Denver?
I think there's no question about it. I mean, at one point in this ballgame, it was 19-3.
Yeah.
Fact of the matter is, we were whooping their ass.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, you're bitching and crying and whining and complaining because you're not getting it done on the field.
Sure.
Who do you got to blame? Yourself.
Yeah.
So suck it up. You just got whooped.
Yeah.
That's just what happened.
And those plays where they're calling for push-offs, they showed them in slow motion, and there is not one little moment you could find even a little push-off. It was so obviously not a push-off. They were just looking like a bunch of babies.
Cry babies.
Yeah, it was actually pretty funny. But I'm happy that the refs didn't fall into starting to call it later on, because that's what I was starting to get irritated, thinking they're gonna influence these referees, but they didn't. So they did a really good job. I want to bounce back to special teams. Drew Kaiser won the AFC Rookie of the Week, and you know it's not very often that I start to. I'm such a positive guy about the Chargers. I love them all. I don't like to talk bad about them, and I was starting to turn a little bit on Drew Kaiser. I'd even tweeted out that I thought they should stash him on IR and pick up another punter because I was so upset.
You can't do that. You know what your prediction was before the season started, man. You can't do that.
And I predicted before the season started that Drew Kaiser would be the Chargers Rookie of the Year, and it was looking so bad. He had definitely the best game of his career last week, but how much of that can we maybe put on the fact that they took the holding duties away from him and he's just focused? I mean, it seems like it shouldn't be that much work to have to hold also, but did focusing on just punting help him out, or what's your thoughts, Justin? Do you think that turned Drew Kaiser's turned things around for him?
Not Darren Bennett. It was Mike Cyphers. He was actually seen there, actually instructing Drew Kaiser this week. I don't know if he was there on assignment or if he was there just being a special teaching guy, whatever you want to say. He was there. Obviously, something has clicked. He has punted well this year at times, but he really put a full game together. And it was really nice to see. I really attribute that to Mike Cyphers being around him a little bit.
Jake, you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, I'll agree with some of it. And again, I think it's just it was a reality check for him last year, and I think that maybe not spoken about publicly to the media. I think he finally just owned up for the mistakes that he made the week prior, and the Drew Kaiser that we saw on Sunday. Jason, if that was a Drew Kaiser that we saw every Sunday, then your claim for him being Rookie of the Year would be absolutely accurate, because he put on a tremendous game. And it was a great way for him to bounce back when just everybody was killing him through the media, us included.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, no question about it. And, I mean, some of the field positions that he was able to put Denver in for a great portion of that game, you can't take any credit away from him. And I think that he got overshadowed a lot just for specifically, certain reasons, the way the defense had played and, how we were basically able to manhandle Denver for a good portion of that game before it really got close. So definitely an unsung hero for last Thursday's win, and I give him all the credit in the world.
Yeah, the way that game turned into closer than it should have been, one 19-yard punt from Drew Kaiser could have turned the game for us bad. Right. David, your thoughts on Drew Kaiser? Were you happy? Were you surprised? Was that what you were expecting to see finally out of him?
Well, I mean, when you talk about Drew Kaiser, I really think that it had nothing to do with his physical talent or ability. I think that obviously he showed on Thursday that he could do those things. He was capable of it. I think it was a mental thing. And I think maybe Mr. Cyphers came in there and maybe corrected some things that were going on mentally. And I think obviously it clicked, and he put out a great performance. You see what the Chargers defense is able to do when they are winning the field position battle.
Yeah, go for it, Justin.
Oh, well, we just had a question from Geppetto on our Sports Junkies account, and it's for Jake, and we know how we bounce around on the show anyway. He's got a question about the corners for all of us, specifically to Jake. He wants to know what CBs will be starting this week, and if it's Flowers and Hayward, should we expect to see a lot of zone coverage against this Falcons wide receiving core?
Well, hoping for Flowers and Hayward so far it doesn't look that good because Flowers was not out there practicing today. So the chances of that happening are, slim. If he doesn't practice tomorrow and Friday, but as of right now, they're slim. And that would be his, if he doesn't play this week, that's his 4th game missed with a concussion. So, wow. It sucks to hear that, as well as Brandon Flowers has, gotten himself in better shape throughout the offense or the off season. And he looked pretty good, for the first 2 games that he was in there. But again, it's just we can't catch a break with our 3 corners that we expected to have. This was the same story a couple of years ago when we had Sharice Wright and just having everybody out in the field at the same time because they really breed competition out of each other and they make each other better. So I think if you're talking about who you expect to have the corners on for this week, I think you got to be looking at Hayward, and I hate to say this because now I'm giving Jason a little bit of credit, but a little bit more of Craig Mager out there because he actually had a couple of plays in there where he did some pretty good work. I think Steve Williams again got exploited. I think he reminded Charger fans for the reason that he wasn't on this team for toward the end of the season. Mm-hmm. But as far as defensive packages goes, I mean you're going to have to try and be as aggressive as you can with those wide receivers. If you take a blueprint of how Denver took Julio Jones away, copy that. Look at that. Look at how they were able to, use their safeties and their corners to take him out of that game. So I think that's definitely a system that you have to follow defensively because the evidence was there. So if you want to take Matt Ryan's best weapon away from him, that is how you do it.
As much as I've been in the camp of Craig Mager and liked him, I also do believe while he's out there, they're giving him a little bit of help. And it seems to me like Casey Hayward, they're kind of just making, they're saying, hey, guess what? You're on this guy because we're going to help Mager out a little bit. But nobody can say Mager's had a bad year. Mager's had a solid year this year with as much help as he's gotten. You can say that. He does have an interception. He's got the fumble recovery last week.
Kudos to you, sir.
Yeah. And he dropped another interception, too. He had his hands on another one. He didn't drop it. He had his hands on another one, though. But, David, coming off of Geppetto's question there, what are you expecting to see in the secondary this week, and are you concerned?
Well, I mean, anytime you go against Julio Jones, a big physical, just freak, a freak of nature, you got to be concerned. I mean, I think you got to go into and have the mindset that he's going to get his. But you just got to try and slow him down. You're not going to stop him completely just because, like I said, man, he's just too physically gifted. He's going to get his catches, but try to limit him and try to keep him out of the end zone. As far as the cornerbacks are concerned, I think Jake hit it on the head. I think we're going to see a lot of those guys, Mager, Williams, and hopefully we get Flowers back. I mean, Hayward's the number 1 now, so he's going to have to step up and do his best to try and contain Julio Jones on Sunday.
Yeah, and Steve Williams has been exposed, and he has kind of shown why we released him. I know that they had Trevor Williams activated, and it's funny, as Pierre Desir, the type of cornerback that Justin loves, he's kind of the big, tall, lanky guy, he was inactive, and maybe he hasn't been able to quite move up the chart, but Justin, are you concerned cornerbacks this week? We are playing against the number 1 offense in the league. Does that scare you?
Yeah, no, it's definitely concerning. And this is the type of game where I know I don't want to harp on this because we don't have him, but you'd pay admission to see Jason Verrett and Julio Jones all day long. Like you would want to watch that all day. I would. And it's just, it's terrible that he won't be out there. That being said, we got to go with what we have. And I hope Pierre Desir can get in there soon and pick up this defense. And I hope he can be active because I really love the size of the kid. I love his athletic ability. I love the way he plays. I've seen the tape. I haven't broken it down like an expert has. I just like the way he plays. And I'd like to see him get a shot. But, yeah, they really have to contain Julio Jones. and as well as stop Devontae Freeman. These are guys you have to focus on Sunday.
David,
And
do you
so
think
something?
Yeah, I was just
Sorry,
going to say, do
go
you
ahead.
think Pierre Desir is the future of this team? I know you were kind of nodding your head when you were starting to talk about him.
I mean, I like Pierre Desir. I mean, I think part of the reason why he was inactive is because he probably hasn't fully grasped the playbook. I mean, Justin had commented earlier that Pagano's schemes and his defense is very complex. So, I mean, you don't want to throw a guy out there that isn't ready to go or won't understand his assignments or his job. But one thing I was going to say is the pass rush has to be effective in this game. Has to, especially with how weak our cornerback group is. I mean, you gotta love Hayward, but after that, I mean, let's face facts, guys. Let's face facts. I mean,
just like Jay.
Hey, I mean, I like Craig Megger, but he is not a. I mean, he's not going to be on most NFL teams. I'm just going to be honest with you.
All right.
Well,
he's not. He's not.
He's not. I mean, he's not that bad. He'll be on an NFL roster, but
right. But I mean, he's not going to be starting on most teams, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
That's probably true. Yes.
Yeah.
The pass rush has to get home. It has to be in Matt Ryan's face all day, so that those guys don't have to cover as long.
You're saying shoot Jatavius Brown out of a cannon.
Yeah, and
Jatavius Brown. Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely the one of the things that we've seen from Joey Bosa right now is just he's just an animal out there with the not just
endless
the speed,
motor.
Yeah, not just the speed but the strength. And I have a feeling that when you see a guy like Joey Bosa doing the things he's doing, you have guys like Tenny Palapoy and Caron Reed and Damian Square able to do more things because they're so worried about Joey Bosa. Is it too early to say, Jake, is it too early to say that Joey Bosa is going to be the difference maker on this defense?
I don't see how you could say that. I mean, he's been like a shot of adrenaline in the arm since he's arrived here for this team, even though, the team is 1-1 with him in the games. You could tell that there was just a difference in the defensive line and the defensive play overall. One of the things that, you brought up the size and the strength of, what he's capable of doing. The other thing that stood out to me, was the change of direction when after Benjamin had fumbled and Denver had that possession, trying to get into the end zone, and it was third down. Simeon's back there. He's looking for a quarterback run. Bosa got off of the right tackle so quickly and went back and tackled Trevor Simeon to stop that drive in its tracks right there. And it was just remarkable. Yes, the type of physical abilities that this kid has. Again, I know I knocked on Bosa, throughout the draft process, throughout, the contract dispute, but not once did I ever doubt the physical capabilities of what this kid has. And it has been just a great pleasure to see this on a Chargers team for a guy that is coming out and showing, this type of ability with just the short playing time that he's had with this team. It's awesome.
Justin, you talked about when he was drafted, none of us had him as the draft pick, I don't think. But we ended up drafting Joey Bosa. You could talk about it being a little bit of a question mark. And you went and you looked at, you did something that we don't do too much. You went and you watched some film and you came on and you told us, you guys are going to be, this guy is awesome. Are we seeing Joey Bosa as a pro, the same type of stuff you saw when you were watching Joey Bosa at Ohio State?
When you watch, and I wouldn't call it film. I'm not in a dark room with my magnifying glass and notes.
He's Howard Hughes.
Exactly. When we talk about, but when I watched all his highlight tapes, and they are highlight tapes because that's what they package together. They don't show every play, but just the way, and they say this all the time, the way he uses his hands, he pushes guys back with thunderous force and abrupt. It's just crazy how much he knocks a guy off a ball. And then to see the agility after his first move to sidestep a guy and get through a crease to get into the backfield. And his vision is always upfield to grab the ball carrier if he's coming through his gap. It is absolutely remarkable what you saw at Ohio State, and now what you're kind of seeing, a lot seeing now in the pros, and it'll continue because you got to think this guy's he's got a chip on his shoulder. The whole holdout thing I know bugs him. You can hear him talk and the voice. He really was irked by that whole situation. He just wanted to play football, but he had to let the financials go and whatever. But now God, it's not even about making tackles. He's getting pressures. He's getting guys. He's moving men, and that's what we need on this defense. Then you let those fierce little linebackers come in and clean up the mess. It's really been helpful, and like Jake alluded to, it's been a shot of adrenaline, man. To just, you could see Mebane's game picked up, Corey Leggett's game picked up, and he's just a game changer, man. It's so nice to see this trio of that we thought we were going to have from the get-go on the field now together.
Now, is it fair to compare? I know they're not the same type of player, but is it fair to compare him to Sean Merriman? And the reason I say that is Sean Merriman would go out there and he would change games. And when other teams were able to shut him down, it took so much from those teams that you had other guys like Louis Castillo and other guys like that were actually out there making plays because Sean Merriman took so much, you know. So is that a fair comparison? Even though the game's not the same type of game, the impact, is that a fair thing to say, or am I way ahead of us, getting ahead of things here?
I think you're on point for one specific reason, and that's the motor. When you think of Sean Merriman, you think of a guy who has an endless motor, who's not going to stop until the whistle is blown, until the play is over. That's the one thing that Joey Bosa brings immediately. If nothing else, he brings a endless motor that goes and goes and goes, and that's the type of athlete, the type of player you want to have on your defense. No question about it, because you were talking about elevating the game of those around him. He's doing that because everyone has to kind of play with that reckless, relentless approach that Joey Bosa has played with. And his impact is not exactly quantified in the stat sheet so far. Yeah, he's got a couple of sacks, but he is impacting the pass rush. He is getting in the quarterback's face, and that is something that the Chargers didn't have in the first few games of the season.
Jake, comparing him to Sean Merriman, is that a fair comparison?
I think for his attitude and some of the ways that he's able to use his body, absolutely. I think he, in some cases, I hate this comparison aspect of things. We would compare him to J.J. Watt at the beginning of the season, but I understand it because of the fact that we haven't had a presence like this since Sean Merriman. So it's a fair argument to make, but let's see what this kid's going to do from a week in to week out basis, even for the fact that he didn't play for the first 4 weeks of the year. Let's give him the full year, because Merriman, before he got injured, before he got busted with the steroids, he was a consistent dominant player that people had to watch out for week in and week out. So I'm just going to hold my opinions until the end of the season to give a fair regard on Joey Bosa. But honestly, I'll monetize it like this. To say what we've seen from this kid in 2 weeks, if you monetize that out in a full 16-game season where he had a full training camp, it's scary to think the type of plays that he would be making back there in the backfield right now.
I agree. Justin?
Yeah, same thing. I think not Sean Merriman, the player, but the impact of a Sean Merriman. And like David alluded, the motor's crazy. And it's relentless, and that's the impact like a Sean Merriman has, and it opens up the game for everybody else.
I was watching some plays where he is beating his guy, and another offensive lineman would just come and slam him, and he would just fall to the ground, jump right back up, and I'm thinking in my mind going, first of all, please get up, because that was a hard hit, and the second thing I'm thinking is they're using two guys on this, and they can't stop him. He is still going, and I would hope to see, J.J. Watt is J.J. Watt. Let's not, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. But I would like to see them treat him like that, put him inside, put him in different places, and I think that they will when he gets more used to the offense.
Yeah, they are.
Are they starting to do that already?
You can already see it. You just alluded to it. When you have another guy come in for a crackback block, and after the play's already started, and they have to come in and clean him up. Yep. That just means there's another guy running free somewhere. So it's impactful. It's an impactful thing to have on your football team.
I got a couple other things that I wanted to talk about. I mentioned Josh Lambo. He leads the league in touchbacks. He's got 30 touchbacks this year, and only 9 kicks have been returned. I was a big Novak fan. I like Novak, but just to put that in perspective, Nick Novak this season has one, and I'm not hating on Nick Novak. I'm just saying
you're
only got one touchback, and now
you're hating on the guy.
Now with the ball coming out to the 25-yard line now, is this a good strategy? And I'm going to start out by saying absolutely, because I worry when we kick the ball, our coverage teams, I would rather let them just start on the 25 and not worry about having to cover the kicks. I love the fact that this is the one thing that the one thing, if anybody had a complaint about Lambeau last year, was, boy, I thought he was going to get more touchbacks. He took maybe a little bit of vitamin S in the off season, and all of a sudden now he's figured it out. It seems like everything he kicks isn't even just getting into the end zone, but going through the back of the end zone. Justin, would you prefer them to start trying to do some of the stuff that the New England Patriots? The New England Patriots actually kick the ball high and try and keep you inside the 25-yard line. Would you like to see them start doing that, or do you just say blast it through the end zone?
Yeah, just blast it through. I don't know if. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I think the
pizza's here.
Yeah. That would be nice. I'm starving. I think that they just need to clear it out and get them to start at the 20. I mean, that's what you need to do. You don't need to screw around with the kick. You don't need to screw around with anything like that. They don't get fancy. And he's booming kicks this year. It's been great.
It's been awesome. Jake, do you like seeing all those touchbacks, or do you think that they should try and play the New England Patriots game and try and pin them inside the 20?
Well, I mean, hey, if our punt coverage is anything like our special teams coverage, then by all means, you put that baby in the end zone every time, because I don't want to give him a chance to possibly be running back, because you don't want to give an opportunity for the way. I mean, again, the way the defense is playing, I think that's more of an instruction from our special teams coach to Lambeau, because you have enough of that confidence to say, hey, go ahead and blast it, put him out there on the 25. Our defense is now going to go to work, and we're going to stop him. So I think that's all part of a plan for both sides of how to help one another out.
David, you agree?
I do agree. I've been very pleased with the kick coverage, actually, and the kickoffs. I mean, even when they do return it, not many of them are getting past even the 20-yard line. So one thing that I have enjoyed is the fact that Josh Lambeau has performed very well on kickoff, and as well as the rest of the special teams as far as that aspect is regarding.
I had one other thing. I'm trying to remember what it was right now, so give me a second to remember. But I did want to bounce back to the offensive line a little bit. We've been really, really happy with what we've seen from Slauson since he's been brought in. And overall, is our offensive line playing perfect? No. But I'm actually pretty happy with our offensive line play. I would like to see a few more holes opened up, but I'll tell you what, even when there's no hole opened up, it seems like for the most part, at least Melvin Gordon's getting back to the line before somebody hits him, whereas in the past he was getting hit 2 or 3 yards deep. Overall offensive line, if you're going to grade it out, I know Jake hates being nailed down to percentages and grades and stuff, but I would give him a solid B so far this year. Jake, what's your thoughts so far on the offensive line this season?
I would actually give it about a B minus. Again, like you said, it hasn't been perfect, but if you grade it from, if we were to put a letter grade on what the offensive line was last year, I think we could pretty much be down in the D to F range. So it's taken a lot of steps forward, not just in the run game, but in pass protection as well. You notice that Phillip Rivers, not only is he being able to adapt to getting the ball out faster, but if it comes down to a point where he has to throw the ball deep, he definitely now has a little bit more time to do so. So, yeah, I definitely commend the offensive line for the work they've done. And, again, you're talking about an offensive line that not only has had to go through personnel changes, but different coaching changes as well, too. So there's a lot that this unit has had to take into account, and I think that they've translated it pretty well on the field thus far.
So B for me, a B minus from Jake Hefner. Justin, what say you?
Yeah, same thing. Right in that area. C plus, B minus, right in that area. They've been solid. Look what Phillip did with no line at the end of last year. He's carving people up still when he had time to throw. So this line can stay, knock on wood, we'll all knock on the wood here. Let's keep this thing healthy and rolling. And they've just been good enough to get through these games and make plays at times and open up for Melvin at times. So it's been nice.
David, what's your letter grade for the line?
I mean, these guys took it away from me. It's right at B- for me, and that's a drastic improvement from last year. And it starts with the man in the middle, Matt Slauson. I think it's came in immediately and solidified this offensive line, brought a mean streak, that kind of attitude back to the Chargers offensive line they haven't had in a couple of years, and you like that. You something that you really enjoy seeing and you haven't seen in a long time. So, yeah, B- for me. They have some work to do. I mean, especially in the run blocking game, I still feel like they can open up some more holes. Pass blocking, I've been pleased with their performance. So, pass blocking, definitely better than the run blocking, but overall, pretty solid.
Yeah, and run blocking in the NFL is getting a lot more difficult anyways. It's not the easy thing that it used to be. I'm giving all the credit to the equipment manager for realizing that you issue cleats to your center and not roller skates, and we can see the difference this year from that standpoint.
This guy.
Something that Travis wrote in the chat room that I can't see it happening. I'm gonna try to bring him in. I'm gonna try and bring him in on the
What did he write? A novel?
Yeah, he wrote
Holy
a big
cow.
long thing. I'm
Look
gonna try
at
and bring him in.
Good
Is
job,
this another one of his? Is this another one of his bold predictions?
Well, he's making a league wide rumor. He's kind of he says there's a rumor out there, and we're gonna see what happens. I'm trying to bring him in via Skype. Travis, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. You got me?
Yeah, we got you.
All the way from Pluto.
Yeah, Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah,
Can you hear me, Travis?
You sound like you're on the Russian space shuttle.
Are you there?
No.
We're gonna try.
Hey, what do y'all think about this, man? Joe Hayden. What do you think about asking for Joe Hayden from the Browns?
Guys, I can't hear you.
Joe Hayden for who?
I'd give a second-round pickup for Joe Hayden.
Oh, just a straight up, for a draft pick. I would do that.
I don't know if I would give up. I don't know about Joe Hayden, to be honest, guys.
Really? Come on now.
I like Joe Hayden, but I don't know. It's just
good.
He's injury prone.
That's what I was gonna say.
Isn't he?
That's the only knock that I have on him.
So you're going to give up a second-round pick, and I get what you're saying, David. I really do. I mean, I'm not against it, but maybe not a second-round pick, maybe a fifth-round pick.
I'd do it in a second.
Yeah.
And I'll throw in. Let's see.
You can have the rights to Manti Te'o.
Oh boy.
Well, like they were going to keep him anyway.
Do we still have the rights to Jonas Mouton? Maybe we could give him back in exchange.
Oh, good call.
Second round.
Ah, that was rough.
Yeah, good call. You've been beating that horse for a while too. That Jonas Mouton draft.
2 second-round picks, and that's who you spend one on.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, man. I want to get Casey Hayward some legitimate help on the other side. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I agree with you actually, and I hadn't heard that. I would love it if they could pull the trigger on that. The problem is they need to do it sooner than later.
I'm not against any of that. I think they could bring in a guy, and that would be nice. But don't mortgage your future, I guess. But I see what you're saying. If we get into a position to where we're contending, and maybe we run off a couple in a row here, and we get back to 500, I could see. Hopefully that's not before the deadline, but I forget which week that is. But I'm not opposed to that at all. I think they could make a move, maybe 2 even.
Well, I was trying to bring Travis in earlier, and we are going to say
right.
that
He looked like he was in his car.
Yeah, he was in his car or something. And technical difficulties were on his end, but he wasn't able to hear us. But I'm going to go ahead and bring up what he said in the chat room. He says that the Jets are kicking the tires with a couple different teams looking for a quarterback, and he mentioned that the Jets are interested in Phillip Rivers now.
Of course they are.
First of all, of course they are.
There's a lot of teams interested.
That's a no-brainer, of course, for the Jets to want Phillip Rivers.
Aren't
but
they 1-5?
Yeah, I'm gonna put less than 0% chance of this happening. David,
Negative.
yeah. I mean,
negative. Nothing. There's no chance.
Yeah,
That's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
That
Sorry.
doesn't make any sense at all. But
I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Just he needs to get on here and explain himself because I don't understand where that comes from.
Where's the logic in that?
we try. He found it on Bleacher Report. But here's one of the things that I wanted to bring up that he also mentioned with the Jets looking for another quarterback. I know this isn't Charger talk, but I thought it was interesting. Any chance at all of Tony Romo getting traded to the Jets? After you had that start of Dak Prescott. I had not heard that at all, but it got mentioned. Justin, you're making a funny face like you just ate a lemon. What are your thoughts?
I probably did. And another thing about the Jets, they have Petty and Hackenberg.
They have 4 quarterbacks.
They have 19 quarterbacks in the roster. Why are they going to bring in a 20th quarterback, for one? For two, Tony Romo to the Jets, who cares?
I just thought it was interesting. I
I could definitely see it happening.
He winds up under center and he gets hurt.
Well, they were going to.
But I could definitely. It's a Jets type of move. I mean, they brought in, Brett Favre and whatever. I mean, this is a Jets type of move. So just to speak on that point, I could definitely see it happen.
The future, you know what I mean?
I could definitely see it happening.
I could see it happening too, but why?
Jake, have you heard that at all, Jake? The Jets looking for a quarterback this year?
No, I haven't. Well, I mean, they've been looking for a quarterback for the last couple of years, unfortunately. But,
exactly.
No, I haven't heard anything that it revolves around Phillip Rivers being in those type of talks. But and again, if the rumor is true that they're just looking for a quarterback in general, then their upper management general manager needs to be given a hard look at toward the end of this season. Seriously, for the type of personnel that you put on there, you literally have kept 4 quarterbacks to this point of the year, and your coaches have not been able to develop them. And you can't really come to a decision on one that is going to be your legitimate starter that you're going to back. I mean, come on, man. This is ridiculous from a
thanks to our listeners for staying up with us late in New York. This is the New York Sports Show. We're excited to talk quarterbacks of the future with you, Jets fans. And
let's go ahead and put some Brooklyn accents into this show here if we're going to be talking.
Well,
all right. Sorry, man. I'm starting to get allergic over here to those type of voices. I don't know if I can put up with that.
I'll tell you what.
But
we are part of the New Media Network, which is aired in Philadelphia. So.
Yes, thank you for listening.
Yeah, we appreciate that. So that is a little bit of an East Coast thing. Like I said, it was mentioned, and the Rivers thing being mentioned to me seemed absolutely ridiculous.
Listen, Jason, we don't want to start another wildfire that was the Tennessee Titans with Phillip Rivers.
That's
all right.
right.
I don't want that all over again. Let's debunk this conversation right now.
Absolutely.
Immediately.
Well, what I'd like to do is I'd like to actually circle back to where we started. The Chargers now have won 2 games. 2-4, not where we want it to be this season, but it is not all is not lost. I believe that the Chiefs started 1-5 last year and made the playoffs. So 2-4 is not such a bad, is not as bad as it sounds. We do have the Falcons, the Broncos, the Titans, and the Dolphins coming up. With those 4 games, we throw around must win, not must win. If we won 3 out of 4 of those games, would that be acceptable, or do we have to take all 4 games? Jake, start us off.
No, I think if we took 3 out of 4, I think that would be acceptable. Again, like you said. In the Chargers' losses, they have not gotten blown out. They have been literally in every game. Unfortunately, they have just shot themselves in the foot and come up with literally ways that people in history have not figured out how to give games up. And it's just been the most interesting thing. So I think that's one of the positives that you can look at is that the Chargers aren't getting blown out. They're not getting manhandled by any of these teams. That being said, you're really starting to head into the meat of your schedule with 1 game already in the rearview mirror as a win, but now you've got Atlanta and Denver. It's not going to get any easier over the next couple of weeks. So you need to take these wins where you can get them. And normally this is how the Chargers' MO is that they normally win games that they're supposed to lose and they lose games that they're supposed to win. It's just, it's opposite town in San Diego. It's been that way for so many years. But, if you're really committed to turning this team around and getting on a good foot and continuing the momentum here, going into Atlanta and taking out the number 1 offense in the league that has been shredding teams week after week after week thus far, that, in my opinion, is a bigger statement than what you just did to the Super Bowl champions on Thursday. and that is something to get excited about.
I agree. Big game in Atlanta. Justin, what are your thoughts of these upcoming 4 games? What do we need? What needs to happen?
Well, we need to go 4-0 for one, and I think this game here is going to be the statement game of this whole series. So this coming a series of games, once you get past Atlanta, you can beat Denver again. You just proved you can beat Denver. It's not going to be easy in their house. I understand that it's a different atmosphere, but it can be done. We just kind of drew up the way to do it. We kept them away from the football, made them kind of one-dimensional. So. It just, to me, you get this win against Atlanta, one of the better teams in football right now. This is the game you need. The other games we'll get to. I know it's one game at a time BS, but it really is. I mean, week to week, like Jake said, we're in every game.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have lost some of all these games. I mean, it's ridiculous. So to think we can't play with anybody, I think this is where they really, and like I said at the beginning of the program, this is where they get on a roll, guys. I don't ever discount what Phillip Rivers can do, especially with the line we just talked about and what he's been doing. They can get on this roll, guys. 5 in a row, 6 in a row. They can beat whoever they want. They just got to show up and play football and finish the damn game. And that's what I think. They need to win them all. Win them all.
Wow. David?
If they take away some of those mistakes, like, for example, in the Denver game, if they don't cough the football up a couple of times, that's a blowout.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even close. It's a blowout. So I feel like this team is capable of beating anyone. I feel like they have the talent, like they finally have the talent on both sides of the ball. They can actually go out there and beat anyone. Now, they tell you not to look ahead in the schedule, but it's a little difficult. When you get past the second Denver game, that schedule looks awfully easy to me. I see a lot of wins out there after we play Denver. A lot of weak teams, a lot of struggling football teams. So if we can come out of Atlanta or Denver with at least one win, I feel like we can definitely turn this season completely around.
Yeah, I definitely think we can definitely beat both of those teams, but I agree with you, David. I think if we can go 1-1 over our next 2 games, we can get going on a roll.
You're settling.
You're right.
I'd love for him to go 2-0, man. But I have to be a little realistic. I mean, you got 2 games on the road. The Chargers don't play very well on the road.
No, they do. They do play well on the road. We just blow the leads at the end of it. We've been playing great on the road. They just have the mishap. So let's be positive here. And I see what you guys are saying. 1-1, I wouldn't be terribly mad about. But I don't want that anymore. I want to rattle off games. Rattle them off, because you put yourself in this position. Beat their ass. Get it done. Just go out there and play like you've been playing all year. You're going to win these games.
And protect the football. Protect the football. If they protect the football, then they are going to win more games. I mean, it's a fact of the matter. They lead the league in most fumbles, and they lead the league in most fumbles lost. If they eliminate those fumbles, they have more wins on the board. That's a fact.
Last guy I want to talk about, we talked about running the two tight end offense and stuff. Derek Watt, we gave him a little bit of we've been talking a little bit about him this year. I was expecting a little bit more out of him. However, I watched him in the game he was in Denver, and he actually I was a lot happier with what I saw with him out there. Did he hit all the blocks right? No, he did not. But I saw lots of improvement. I loved seeing him get involved, like Justin said, in the passing game. He received a ball out of the backfield. Derek Watt, Jake, did you see it? I know it's only been 1 game since we were kind of disappointed, but have you seen some improvement from him in the Denver game? And do you see him continuing to improve as the season goes on?
Yeah, it's kind of, for me, a little bit too early to say, just because I think the sample size there is too small.
Yeah.
And especially for just the way that they utilized him in the Denver game, it seemed like it was only on goal line packages where they really brought him in. And, like the conversation that we were having a couple weeks ago, David and I talking about, like, hey, this guy is still a rookie, and he's still coming from Wisconsin, which was the same system that Melvin Gordon had to learn, unfortunately, hard under his first season. So, it could be the same exact type of things that Derek Watt's going through right now as far as learning the system, learning the playbook. And, from a fullback's position, I know the regular, you just look at what that position does, and it may not be the most difficult thing to do. Just find your blocker. That's the guy you're going to block, make a hole, and, dominate. But it's just there's a little bit more to it than that. So I actually agree with what Justin had said earlier as far as get him involved a little bit more in the passing game, because he's got great hands, very underutilized weapon for him. And, it reminds you a little bit of the way that we used to, put Lorenzo Neal in the backfield and how we used to utilize him back in the day. It just gives you another outlet and another weapon to go to. So, again, it was a small sample size last Thursday, so we're just going to have to see how he progresses, hopefully in the right direction over the next several weeks.
I also liked seeing him as the up back. I think they gave him the ball on a 3rd and short or a 2nd and short, and he got a first down. I liked seeing that. I want to see a little bit more of that, the quick hitters. David, too early to tell, or did you see some improvement? Am I making too much out of that?
No, I saw some improvement on Thursday. I mean, I saw some things that I liked. Like the boys have been saying, catching the ball in the backfield. I mean, he took a pretty gnarly hit on that catch, held on to the football. So, I mean, those are some things that you like. He doesn't play very much. He's not that involved in the offense overall. So you got to take a look at his snaps. And one thing that you want to focus on with a rookie, especially a rookie halfback or fullback, if you will, is just to see some improvement from week to week. That's what you want to see. And I think Derek Watt gave that to you. So you just wanted to see that continue as the season goes on.
Justin, final thoughts on Derek Watt?
Yeah, just I think Jake kind of hit it on the head with a good point he brought up, Wisconsin thing. Melvin Gordon had a tough time figuring things out, and as a fullback's job, you really got to know the defense and the way they're aligned, and obviously the center's going to make his call, and you got to be on the same page with him. There's a lot of different things as a fullback. You're the enforcer out there. You got to play with the toughness, and if you're not prepared before the play happens, it's hard to go about your business and make the correct call. So just more time, and it's just a small sample size thing, and I agree with that. And I just think in the passing game, eventually once he gets more comfortable, he's going to be a really big asset for us, especially in the red zone.
Travis Benjamin's been sitting out practice this week with a sore knee. I've been very disappointed with him in the kick.
It's because the football hit it when he was trying to get out of the way. It bruised up his knee, and now he can't play.
Very
He's
disappointed.
waving everybody off, and then he went back in.
He need the ball.
He need the ball because he waved everybody off.
Disappointed with his punt returns, but I've actually been pleasantly surprised with what he's done offensively, and not just as a deep guy.
He also got a new job as an air traffic controller down at Lindbergh because he qualifies for that position.
Cameron, man.
Yes, it's it.
Yeah.
All right.
And like David said, he's fast enough. He should be catching those balls. Jake, have you heard anything about him with the knee injury? Should we be worried about him playing on Sunday?
Yeah, I would be. If we study injuries the way that we do on this team, and the injury bug, how it infestates or basically originates in San Diego and then spreads throughout the rest of the teams in the league, it's definitely something to be concerned about. And maybe the football gods are just trying to make it that much tougher for Phillip Rivers going into a hostile environment for Sunday. I definitely hope he's able to get out there and play. I hope it's he wasn't able to get out there on Monday. This is really his second day of missed practice. And this one was in full pads. So, it's not the most encouraging sign that you'd like to hear in the middle of a week when you have a big game coming up. So hopefully he'll be able to do some work tomorrow and Friday to, up his chances of playing on Thursday. On Sunday.
You think we're going to see him out there, David?
I think we will see him out there. Hopefully, McCoy said he hopes to see him out there. Obviously, we'll know more immediately tomorrow and Friday if he practices or not. If he's not at least a limited participant in practice the next 2 days, you can kiss his chances of playing goodbye.
Yeah, real quickly, Requested, thanks for joining us in the chat room, and he says that he thinks he's right on board with you, Justin. He thinks that Julio Jones is good, but he's just one guy, and we can definitely win both of those games. We've been in all the games this year, and nobody's beat us yet. Like I said, I like to take the Nick Diaz attitude. Nobody's beat us yet. We've just lost a few games, but nobody has beat us yet. Gentlemen.
Yeah,
go ahead.
One quick point. We played teams with really good wide receivers. I know Jason Verrett was involved in some of those, but if you look at the whole sample size this year, we've done a pretty decent job on some of these guys. So, obviously Julio Jones is out of his flipping mind.
T.Y. Hilton had a pretty good game against us.
Well, yeah, and Jason Verrett, though,
had a
torn ACL.
He got banged up, so that's the reason. But, I just got to believe this team's going to fight, stay in these games. There's going to be a chance to win all these games, guys, and they just got to do it.
Yep, I agree. Gentlemen, it's been fun. It's been a long time since we got a chance to come in here and talk about a big win. I know we beat Jacksonville. That was a game that everybody thought that we were going to win. This is a game nobody thought we were going to win, and it's really, really nice. Like Requested said, we jumped in here and we were all on fleek, I think is how it's said.
Yes,
because how the youngsters are saying it. Just because it's really fun. It's real fun, and it's exciting to talk about a victory. And I'm going to put a lot of the credit for that victory on David for getting us pumped up last Wednesday for the Thursday night football. For those of you listening, I hope that you're all able to join us. Hopefully, we'll all be there. Sunday morning, 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. We're going to be doing the pregame show like we do every Sunday for the Sunday games. Also, New Media Network. We want to thank them. We're part of that New Media Network, 24-hour podcasting network. Check out their website at newmedia.net. Jake Hefner, always, thank you so much for joining us from boltbeat.com. Any good articles you want to steer us towards?
Well, now that we actually have some winning material, yeah, there's going to be a little bit more, especially from me over the next week or so. But it's kind of just as the ship goes. I mean, we're mostly into some player analysis right now. Just especially, unfortunately, it's more about how things have gone wrong, more analogies about the coaches. But when you've got things like Jatavius Brown's putting out there, it's definitely cause for a lot of good content. So. You could definitely expect a little bit more of that over the next couple of weeks, and hopefully a lot more, especially if we can keep stringing these wins together.
And for those of you listening, follow Jake Hefner at Jake T. Hefner on Twitter. David Drogmeyer from the San Diego Sports Domination podcast. You're doing Padres, Aztecs, and, of course, Chargers. You can follow him at DHSD619. David, you want to steer anybody towards your podcast as well?
Yeah, I mean, all they got to do is just go to iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, just type in San Diego Sports Domination Podcast. All of our shows will pop up. We might have an interview with Jay Paris later on in the week, very famous in the San Diego media scene, member of Mighty 1090. Just had a book that came out recently, a lot of awesome Charger stories. And so we might talk to him later on in the week, so that we're excited about. Really appreciate you guys allowing me to come on to the show with you guys and contribute and talk sports. It's been a blast.
Yeah, it's always fun. We appreciate, we sometimes sit in our little bubble here. It's always nice to bring somebody from outside, and we've said it before. None of us here in San Diego with all these different podcasts are competing. We're all part of the same family. We're all striving for the same thing. This isn't a ratings game. We all like to be part of the same thing. Justin, thanks as always being part of it. You and I are the rocks here.
Usually, yes. when we're here, when we're present.
So everybody else, I want to just thank everybody for listening. I want to thank you guys for joining. And with that being said, I think we're going to go. Anybody else have anything else they want to add?
Go Bolts.
Yeah, let's go get another win, man. Let's string another one together. I have a bet that's going on in my class that it's $20, and I have to wear a Falcons jersey if they lose. So please get the victory. Please get the victory. All right, go Bolts, guys.
I'm actually happy, Jason, that I won't unfortunately be able to join you guys on Sunday morning because I will actually be in Northern California for vacation through Monday. So that means that I don't have to make a prediction, which I hate to do. I don't have to do any of that. Because normally when I make predictions on this show, Jason, I keep telling you week after week that superstition bug is proven just a little bit more every single week with certain things that happen during the game. So I don't have to succumb to that I could just now sit back, watch the game, and not have to worry about anything that I said that's probably being a detriment to the team.
That's a good thing.
Well, as everybody knows, I don't believe in superstitions, but me not believing in them does not mean they're not true. So... All right, guys. Thanks a lot for a fun time, man. Jake will be not available Sunday, but the rest of us hopefully will. We look forward to talking to you guys on San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for the fans.
By the fans.
We are out. Thanks, guys.
Later, guys.
San Diego Superchargers. San Diego Chargers time. We're coming your way.
Thank you for listening to the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans by the fans. Brought to you by Cali Comfort, home of the low and slow barbecue, and SK Digital Imaging with Josh Taylor, Justin Smead, Jason Eidsmoe, and Mike Maciejewski. Subscribe to us on iHeartRadio, on Spreaker, and on iTunes. Visit SanDiegoSportsJunkies.com for all your Chargers, Padres, and Aztecs news.